All right, so get this. We're diving into FennSolutionBook.pdf
Okay.
by Bill Gorman.
All right.
And he claims to have,
Solved it.
cracked the Forrest Fenn treasure hunt. Now,
Wow.
you've probably heard of this, right? Fenn, the art dealer,
Yeah.
hid a treasure chest somewhere out in the Rockies.
Right.
And all we got is this poem, this cryptic poem that's supposed to be the map.
Yeah. This book, it's more than just about the hunt, though.
Right.
Gorman, he weaves in his own life story. It's fascinating. Links to pirates, historical figures, even Mark Twain.
Get out of here. So, like, who is this guy? I
Right.
mean, what kind of person comes up with this crazy puzzle?
Yeah, and what kind of rabbit holes did this guy fall into?
Yeah.
Well, one of the big things is Gorman claims he found the treasure back in 2016.
Okay.
But he says the real prize, it wasn't the chest.
Oh.
It was a 1930 Ford model, a car.
A car.
Yeah, nicknamed the Bullet.
So not the chest everyone else was looking for.
Right.
That's a bold claim.
It is. He connects it to Fenn's writing, historical figures like Georgia O'Keeffe, and even the car's bullet hole and missing canopy.
Hold on. So how do you even get there? How do you reach that conclusion?
It gets pretty wild. He really dissects the poem,
Right.
highlighting these things he calls double blazes.
Double blazes.
Yeah. Think of them as like clues that work on two levels. So you have the literal landmark, right? Like Pagosa Springs, where warm waters halt.
Right.
But then there's this deeper symbolic meaning he's pulling out of it.
So it's not just about, like, geography then.
No.
It's about getting into Fenn's head.
Exactly.
Understanding, like, the hidden message.
Yeah, and Gorman believes those messages.
Okay.
They go beyond the poem, even appearing in Fenn's other writings.
Like what?
So there's the story about Fenn needing a substitute for something.
Right.
And Gorman connects that to the idea that the Model A was a stand-in.
A stand-in for the treasure chest.
Yeah.
Okay, so he's saying Fenn was dropping hints all over the place.
Right.
It's like a puzzle within a puzzle.
Exactly.
But how does he tie the Model A specifically to Fenn's past, like his memories?
Well, he points out that Fenn's father owned a Model A.
Oh.
So there's that personal connection, right? And then he brings in Georgia O'Keeffe, Eric Sloan. They had Model A's too.
So it's like this broader cultural significance. So the car represents, what, a journey through time?
Exactly, echoing Fenn's own passions.
Wow.
He even says that bullet hole and missing canopy on the Model A, they hold meaning, you know?
Like symbolic meaning?
Yeah, maybe challenges and losses.
It's all very metaphorical, huh?
Very much so.
Okay, let me get this straight. So Gorman thinks then he's leading people on this treasure hunt.
Right.
But the real prize is
this vehicle.
A vehicle that represents, like, a whole journey through time and memory.
Yeah.
Do you buy it?
Well, it's definitely a unique take. He backs it up by pointing out the repeated D in the poem.
Okay.
Linking it to Ford models. He even brings in figures like Kirk Douglas, Elton John.
What? How do they fit in?
He suggests they're all part of this larger web of clues.
Whoa. Okay. So he wants us to be like detectives then.
Yes.
Looking for clues everywhere.
Absolutely. And that brings us to this other element.
Okay.
Nookers.
Nookers, what are those?
So Gorman uses this to describe people he thinks made up their involvement in the hunt or were misleading others.
Oh, wow.
He points to Jack Stoof.
The guy who supposedly found it.
Yeah, questioning if he's even legit. He even says the timing of that, a remembrance of Forrest Fenn article.
Yeah.
It's suspicious.
Like a cover-up or something.
Yeah, maybe.
So you're saying there could be a whole other layer of deception here?
That's what he's implying.
That's crazy.
He doesn't give all the details.
Okay.
But he's definitely planting seeds of doubt.
This is getting more and more intriguing.
Right.
It's like we're uncovering a treasure hunt, but then there's this whole web of secrets underneath.
Exactly. It all goes back to who was Forrest Fenn, really.
Right. And what was he trying to do with this thing?
Right.
I mean, on the one hand, you've got this art dealer who's eccentric, collects run-over soda cans.
Likes pranks.
Yeah. But he also inspired all these people to explore the Rockies.
Right. Like embrace adventure.
Yeah, it's complex.
It is. And Gorman's book gives us this fascinating glimpse into that.
So we don't have all the answers.
All of them.
But we have a lot more questions now.
We do, and it's definitely thought-provoking.
This deep dive has been wild already. We went from treasure chest to a vintage car, cryptic clues, to maybe even a conspiracy.
Yeah.
It's incredible what we found just in this first part.
Right.
I'm hooked. What else is there? What else can you tell us about Gorman?
Well, let's dig deeper into his encounters with Fenn himself.
Okay.
And how those shaped his understanding of the whole thing.
All right, let's do it.
It gets really interesting.
Welcome back. So we were talking about these knickers before.
Right?
The people Gorman thinks were, like, messing with everyone, trying to hide the truth about the treasure.
Yeah.
It's kind of creepy to think about, right? Like, someone would do that.
It is. It makes you wonder who you can trust.
Yeah.
But Gorman, he doesn't let it stop him. He keeps digging into the clues, you know?
So he still thinks Fenn was playing fair? Like, the real clues are there.
Yeah, just hidden.
After all these layers.
Yeah, symbolism, misdirection, the whole 9 yards.
Okay.
He talks about how he met Fenn a bunch of times at book signings and these events.
What are they called?
Fennbories.
Fennbories. Wow.
Yeah, he even showed Fenn this video of a rock formation.
Really? Like, he thought it was a clue.
He thought it was important, yeah.
So did meeting Fenn give him any, like, special insights?
It's hard to say. You know, he doesn't say Fenn confirmed or denied anything.
Okay.
But he did feel this connection with him.
Like they were playing a game.
Kinda.
That's so interesting. Like a game of wits.
Right. Only one of them had the answer.
Yeah. And speaking of answers.
Gorman really emphasizes how Fenn talked about these subtle clues.
Hidden in his stories.
Yeah, not just the poem, though, in The Thrill of the Chase, but also his website, even later books.
What books?
Like Too Far to Walk, Once Upon a While.
So you really had to be dedicated.
You had to be all in, examine every word.
Yeah, a lot.
And it wasn't just geography either.
What else was there?
Historical figures, literary references, even pop culture.
Like what? Give me an example.
Okay, so he connects Kirk Douglas saying Holy Moses to Elton John's Border Song.
What?
Yeah, the line about being deceived.
Whoa. That's a big jump.
But it makes you think, right? Like Fenn is pulling from everywhere.
Yeah, it's this multi-layered puzzle.
Exactly.
He even compares the whole thing to the game.
Oh, the movie?
Yeah, with Michael Douglas.
Oh, okay.
Like Fenn was using that as a model.
Interesting.
And there's that quote where Fenn talks about watching everyone search.
Right.
Like he's enjoying the show.
Forrest Fenn, did you really do that?
Yeah, it's like he's in on the joke, but it makes you wonder, did it go too far?
How do you mean?
People were risking their lives, spending so much time and money.
That's true.
All for this hunt.
Gorman doesn't really criticize Fenn for it.
Okay.
But he does acknowledge the dark side, especially with those Nookers.
Yeah, like that whole thing with the chest being found.
Yeah.
He's not buying it.
He's got his doubts, the timing of that Remembrance article, the insider information.
So he thinks someone might have been given special access.
Maybe. He doesn't give us all the proof.
Okay.
But he's definitely raising red flags, like, don't believe everything you hear.
So we're left with all these questions.
Yeah.
We know the chest was found, supposedly.
Yeah.
But was it the right person?
Right. Was it even fair?
And what about Gorman finding that Model A in 2016?
Oh, yeah. He gives more details about that.
Does he?
He describes how he found it, how it fits all the clues, both literal and symbolic.
And he was going to tell Fenn.
He planned to, once he'd figured it all out.
So he thought he had solved it, but wanted to be absolutely sure.
That's what it sounds like.
He even mentions calling Fenn accidentally in 2020.
Oh, really?
So they were still in touch, even after Fenn said the treasure was found.
Huh. That's interesting.
This is getting more and more complicated.
It is, right? Layers upon layers of secrets.
Yeah, who knows what to believe at this point.
Well, that's part of the fun, isn't it?
I guess so. The mystery, the thrill of the chase.
Yeah. The possibility of finding the truth.
But it's more than just a good story, right? Gorman makes you think.
Absolute.
Question what you believe.
He's asking us to be active, not just sit back and listen.
Exactly. We have to be part of the search.
And that's a good lesson, whether you believe him or not.
Yeah, that's true.
He's saying the journey matters, and the biggest discoveries might be the ones we make about ourselves.
Well said. This has been a wild ride. But I feel like we're just getting started. There's so much more in this book.
There is, especially his analysis of the biblical parallels.
Oh, right. You mentioned that. How does that even tie in?
He sees connections between Fenn's life and the story of Moses.
Wow, really?
It adds a whole new layer of meaning to the treasure hunt.
Okay, I'm intrigued. Tell me more.
Well, he delves into some fascinating stuff. It's really thought-provoking.
All right, I can't wait to hear about it. Okay, so before we went to break, you were talking about those biblical parallels, right?
Right.
I'm curious, how does that tie into the Forrest Fenn treasure hunt?
Well, it's one of the more unique parts of how Gorman looks at this whole thing.
Okay.
He compares Fenn's life to the story of Moses.
Really?
Yeah, saying they both faced challenges, went on journeys, and left behind, like, stories and teachings.
Okay, I kind of see that, but are there specific examples? Like, how does he make that connection?
So there's a part where Fenn talks about being shot down over Laos and having to choose between walking 100 miles to the beach or calling for rescue. Gorman connects that to Moses wandering in the desert for 40 years.
I see. So it's that idea of hardship, making tough choices.
Yeah, and he brings up that both Fenn and Moses wrote about their experiences later on.
So they both became storytellers in a way.
Exactly, preserving their stories for everyone else.
Okay, so that's the personal connection.
Yeah.
But what about the treasure itself?
Mm-hmm.
Is he saying the treasure is like the promised land or something?
Not quite. It's more about the journey itself.
Okay.
And the lessons you learn along the way. He goes line by line through the poem, but through this lens of the Moses story.
Give me an example.
So if you've been wise and found the blaze, he sees that as like spiritual enlightenment.
Like the guidance Moses got from God.
Exactly.
So it's not just a game anymore. It's a quest for something deeper.
Yeah, and that Ford Model A, the one he says he found in 2016, that's a key part of it.
Right, how so?
He sees it as a representation of Fenn's journey, you know?
Through time.
Time, memory, all of that.
And it ties back to his father's Model A.
Right, and to those figures we talked about, Georgia O'Keeffe, Eric Sloan.
It's like this symbol of history, of a different time.
Yeah, like Fenn is inviting us to step back in time with him.
That's pretty cool. And you know what's funny?
What?
Gorman actually predicts that the car that's on display now with the treasure chest.
At the museum.
Yeah, in Denver.
Right.
He thinks it might be a Ford Model A.
Wow, that would be something.
Right. Like, would that prove his whole theory?
I don't know about prove, but it would definitely be interesting.
Yeah, but even if it's not, I still think his take on the car's symbolism is fascinating.
It is. It adds a whole new layer.
Right. But, you know, we can't forget that Gorman, he's not afraid to call people out.
Yeah, those nookers.
The nookers, he's pretty harsh about them.
He doesn't hold back, calls them out for spreading bullshit.
Strong words.
Yeah, he thinks they're trying to control the story, you know?
So even in something like a treasure hunt, there's this, like, dark side.
Yeah, people aren't always who they seem.
Right. And Gorman's telling us, don't be so quick to believe everything.
Be skeptical. Question things.
Think for ourselves.
Exactly.
That's a good lesson for anything, not just treasure hunting.
It is, especially these days with so much information out there.
Right. You got to be careful.
Yeah, think critically.
So I think that's what makes this book so interesting. It's not just a story. It's about so much more.
Right. It's about the power of stories, the thrill of discovering things and finding the truth.
Yeah, even when it's hidden.
Even when it's hard.
This has been a really cool deep dive.
Yeah, it has.
We've got from clues to connections to symbolism. It's been a wild ride.
Absolutely.
And I think we've all learned something along the way.
Whether you agree with Gorman or not.
Right. His journey shows us how powerful curiosity can be and perseverance.
That desire to understand the world.
Yeah, that's at the heart of it all.
So keep exploring, keep an open mind, be critical, and don't forget that sense of adventure.
You never know what you might find.
You might just find a treasure of your own.
That's a great way to put it. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive, everyone.
Yeah, thanks for listening.
Until next time, happy exploring.